everybody and welcome back to my channel. So if you've never seen my face before, then hello, my name's Marie. I am 19 years old, from England. I do YouTube, if you didn't know. Normally I make videos all about mental health, kind of lifestyle videos, but today I really wanted to start a new series on my channel. I have been obsessed with these videos for, I don't know, ever since like Bella started doing them basically, and prior to that I loved all the BuzzFeed kind of genre. Ever since seeing them I have just always wanted to partake in them, and I was like, nah, I can't. But you know what? I'm gonna. So basically that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start this new series. I think I will upload about 4 videos, so one every week for about a month, see how it goes, and yeah, please let me know if you enjoy it. I never normally ask you to like and all of that kind of stuff, I just don't. But since this is a new series, I would really appreciate any kind of feedback you have, whether you like it, if you don't, then we can stop it, we can chuck that. If you like it, then we can carry on, So in today's video I wasn't sure which case I wanted to start it off with, but this case stood out to me because I really remember it happening. If you're from the UK, you probably heard about it before, and it's like a proper like the fuck case. I thought I would cover this one. When I was speaking to my mum about it, she said that literally this was the first time I ever paid any attention to what was going on in the media, was when this case was happening. So I was just turned 4 when this case happened, and apparently I was always fixated on it, and I'd always say, what's happened with the 2 girls, blah blah blah, which is really weird. So if you don't know anything about the Soham murders, then I just want to put a kind of disclaimer before and just say this is sensitive. It covers the murder of 2 young girls, and I know some people might find that very like uncomfortable to listen to. So if you are triggered or anything by that kind of thing, then please don't listen. So this case actually takes place on the 4th of August 2002, where 10-year-old Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman were enjoying a family barbecue at Jessica's home in Soham in Cambridgeshire. It was just a family kind of get together. They were both family friends. Holly and Jessica actually went to school together, so it was just like a nice, you know, like casual gathering. And Jessica and Holly were actually massive Man United fans, and the last photo ever taken of them were them in their bright red Man United t-shirts. Unbeknownst to their parents, Holly and Jessica actually left their house and the barbecue altogether to go and buy some sweets, and they actually never returned home. Around 8:30 in the evening, the girls' parents actually went to go and check on them, and that's when they realised they were missing. They carried on searching for them, but they eventually called the police about 9:45 that night. The police also asked for a photo of the girls to be given, and they gave the photo of them both in the red Man United shirts, which actually became their like iconic image. And for me, that was the one that I remember seeing on the front of newspapers. They were described at around 4 foot 6 inches, tall, slim, and Caucasian, obviously. So for anyone, this is probably one of the worst situations you can imagine. Like, imagine being a parent and your child going missing, and oh, that would be so awful. But this is actually probably where the case gets more harrowing, because not only is that awful enough, but the person who actually murdered these 2 girls knew them. He also appeared on various TV interviews. He went out and searched for them along with the rest of the community, and he even offered words of comfort to Holly's dad, which, I don't know about you, but that just gives me, it makes me like nauseous, because I'm like, ugh, crazy. It's actually, ugh, gross. So the police actually had no initial leads as to where the girls were. They had no idea. There was CCTV footage of them at like a sports centre, so the idea that they could be meeting with someone from like a chat room or something kind of came into mind quickly. Just as quickly as it came, it was really ruled out. There had also been like a few sightings of the girls. Obviously they were wearing the bright red Manchester shirts. A lot of people have said they'd seen them like walking down the road. They seemed very calm, you know, not a bother in the world really. But there was also suspicion that it was linked to a previous abduction that was taking place a year prior. However, that also was linked out as there was no evidence for that either. So to be honest, the police had to go on a bit of a whim because they had no idea where these girls were. The only thing the police had to go on was the last person who apparently saw them alive, which was a man named Ian Huntley. He was actually the girls' school caretaker, and he said that he saw the girls at approximately 6:15 p.m. He said he was washing his dog and that the girls had walked past and they knew that he was actually in a relationship with the other teacher assistant called Maxine Carr, and that the girls had basically just asked him if Maxine was okay, and that was the only thing that the police had to go on. So nothing was actually uncovered until August 16th, which was 12 days after the girls went missing. Up until then, there had been numerous search parties. This had created like national news, like everyone knew about this case, everyone was looking, because I think the idea of two young 10-year-old girls who looked as like angelic as them too, just, it kind of hit something in everyone. It was like a massive news story in the UK. But on August 16th, Huntley and Carr were actually taken into questioning. They were kind of the last people who had seen them alive. But after 7 hours of questioning, they were released. However, when they were on police watch, the police actually searched their home, and this is when they found massively important evidence for them to be linked to the disappearance. It wasn't made public straight away, but on the grounds of the school which Huntley was the caretaker of, they found the burnt remains of the Manchester shirts that the girls were last seen wearing. During this time as well, Huntley actually was in the limelight quite a lot. The information that actually came to light was actually barbaric if you think about it, because he was a school caretaker around like children, and social services had actually had records of him having sex with 4 underage girls, and police had also investigated him on 3 different times for accusations of rape against 3 different women, which, what the fuck. However, at the time he'd only been charged with burglary, but obviously these type of allegations, there's no smoke without fire, and to have that many is just, I don't know, it's just crazy. And to think that he was allowed to be around children, just... So like I said earlier, Huntley had actually appeared in the media quite a lot because he'd given many interviews, and he obviously liked being in the limelight because he would even pretend to weep on camera, and let me tell you what he said.
How do we know they were here at 6:15? Well, we have an eyewitness. Ian Huntley here is a familiar figure. Evening, Ian. You're the school caretaker. The girls, Jessica and Holly, would know you, and they saw you on the front doorstep. What went on?
Well, I don't know the girls. I stood on the front doorstep grooming my dog down. She'd run away and come back a bit of a mess. They just came across and asked how Miss Carr was, as she used to teach them at St Andrews. I just said she weren't very good, as she hadn't got the job. And they just said, please tell her that we're very sorry. And off they walked in the direction of the library over there.
And then he went on to say this: "It doesn't help the fact that I was one of the last people to speak to them, if not the last person to speak to them. I keep reliving that conversation and thinking perhaps something different could have been said, perhaps kept them here a little longer and maybe changed the events." I just can't believe how much he was in the limelight and how much he managed to fool everybody. That's what I just can't believe, like, what? And even his girlfriend Maxine Carr at the time, she was like an impeccable liar. Like, the police and that were shocked when they found out that it was them, that they had something to do with it, because they were like, she was so good at lying and so was he, and they fooled everyone. And I will insert some clips of him actually talking because it's fucking scary when you actually know what's happening. I'm like... So Maxine Carr was actually Huntley's girlfriend at the time, and she gave him an airtight alibi saying that they were together that weekend. She was actually in Grimsby, which is like a completely different place to Soham, which is just... like, she wasn't even there and she still said that she was with him. So to make things even worse, she was, like I said, the old teacher assistant at their school, and she showed a little card that Holly, one of the girls, had given to her when they left school, just saying like, we're going to miss you and that, which just, I don't know, that really gives me the creeps, because that's just really, really sad.
This is something I'll probably keep for the rest of my life, I think. It's what Holly gave me on the last day of term. She was very, very upset because I didn't get my job, and that's the kind of girl she was. She was just lovely, really lovely.
That's really very sweet, isn't it?
So Huntley and Carr were actually arrested on the 17th of August on suspicion of murder, and at this point they had the evidence of the burned remains of the clothes. But until then, the only thing that had been wrote in the notes that was slightly suspicious was, first of all, which is a massive giveaway for so many people, when Maxine Carr was talking about the girl, she used the past tense, and that's always one of the things that police pick up on. She would say like she was a lovely girl instead of she is, even at this time when they had no idea if she was dead or alive. So that was like a first bit to arouse suspicions. And the second was that Ian Huntley actually always kept the same sad expression, and I don't know, police just thought that was like completely, like, it was just suspicious, as he never changed his expression, even though like he wasn't supposed to be like guilty or anything. Like obviously he would be sad, but he was at the end of the day the caretaker and wouldn't have known the girls that well. Sadly, the girls' bodies were actually discovered on this day too. They were found in a ditch in Lakenheath in Suffolk on the 17th of August 2002, and it was actually only 12 miles away from Soham altogether. The girls had actually been missing for 13 days at this point, and on the 21st of August they were formally identified as Holly and Jessica. At an inquest it had been ruled that the girls had almost definitely not died at the place that they were found. They had died previously and then been moved. Obviously this evidence was almost compelling, but the last thing was that the final signal from Holly's phone was actually traced right back to Huntley's house, but forensic evidence actually linked the spot to where the bodies were found back to Huntley's vehicle, and also there was like a petrol can or something which was also linked to where he worked, so it was kind of very obvious at this point. So Huntley eventually admitted that the girls died in his house, but he said that it was completely accidental after he invited them in. So listen to what his excuse actually was. He actually claimed that Holly had drowned accidentally in his house because there was a bath or something and she had a nosebleed, and he accidentally knocked her in there and she subsequently drowned. He then went on to say that Jessica had witnessed this and he accidentally suffocated her by trying to stifle her screams, which is just... He then went on to say that by the time he realised what he was doing it was too late, and that is just so... It makes me so mad when people obviously kill someone and then they won't admit it and they just put everyone through more torment. Obviously the prosecution could kind of see through Ian Huntley at this point and they didn't believe any of his stories. Even at some points he would say that Maxine Carr was like telling him to do certain stuff, and it was all very like anti-blame on him, like he was trying to push all the blame away. But the prosecution said that they think he invited the girls in potentially with a sexual motive and then he murdered them when things didn't actually go to his plan. So Huntley was eventually charged with 2 counts of murder, and then he was held under section, I think it was 48 of the Mental Health Act. So he then went on to pretend that he was crazy, which just gets me so mad. He got sent to Rampton Secure Hospital in Nottinghamshire and his mental state was actually assessed. The consultant psychiatrist, Christopher Clark, said, "Although Mr. Huntley made a clear attempt to appear insane, I have no doubt that the man currently and at the time of the murders were both physically and mentally sound, and therefore if he is found guilty, carried out the murders totally aware of his actions." So obviously he was seen to have a sound mind and physical state, and that's why he got charged with 2 counts of murders and will be in prison, you know, life imprisonment ×2 I think it is. But the doctors at his prison now say that Huntley definitely shows psychopathic tendencies, which I completely agree with. I don't know, he was just, I think once you watch his interview, he seems so like charming if you were like unknown, etc. But when you know what he actually did, I'm just like, he manipulated everyone around him, so he was massively manipulative. Apparently he showed no real signs of remorse when describing how he actually killed the girl. But he also must have been kind of narcissistic because he enjoyed being in the spotlight so much. Like he did multiple interviews, like he wanted like him to be kind of in the center of this whole case, which is just like a massive red flag. He obviously managed to manipulate Maxine Carr. It has been speculated whether she was involved or not. As far as the police system goes, it says that she's not involved, and to be honest, personally I agree with that. I think he must have manipulated her so much. Although, when she was being questioned, the police literally said that she was probably one of the most convincing liars that they'd ever seen. He basically invented this whole story about how he'd seen the girls and then they left like alive and well, which was obviously a lie, and I think she was genuinely in love with this man and wouldn't even think that he would do something like this. I think that goes for the lying thing as well. If you really truly believe that someone's innocent, then you will just end up convincing yourself and therefore everyone around you that like your part of the story is true. So in the end she probably did convince herself that everything she was saying was true and that this man would never do something like that. But you know, he obviously did. Also, I think the way Huntley invented this weird story and then on to go and comfort and go face to face with the victim's parents, that's just like the most sadistic thing ever. Like, there's no other kind of excuse for that. That's just weird. Him thinking that he has like weird control over them, that he knows something that they don't, and psychopath, that's all I'm saying, psychopath. So eventually Maxine Carr was charged with perverting the course of justice and she was to serve 3.5 years in prison. I think she only served half of her sentence, obviously because her failure to expose Huntley early on and say that her alibi was a complete lie meant that it took the police so much longer for them to kind of get anywhere in the investigation. It took like 2 weeks longer for them to arrest and charge him. Maxine Carr was actually released from prison on the 14th of May 2004 and ever since then has been under police protection and has a new identity because it was deemed that if she didn't have that, she would probably be, you know, very much in danger. Huntley's motive for killing Holly and Jessica was never really revealed. It was thought that he'd had an argument with Maxine on the phone before and that he'd accused her of cheating or something like that, so they thought that maybe the killing was kind of in like a furious, jealous rage. The only good thing, if, you know, it's an awful thing, but the only good thing that can shed some light on this is the fact that after this took place, there was a massive tightening in the Criminal Records Bureau, basically because Huntley had had previous charges, previous like accusations, etc., and then was allowed to work with kids. It was like outrageous to people that if there had been like more criminal background checks or just information available, then this could have been so highly prevented. Like, it could have been prevented. So after that, there was a massive communication between different police services in different parts of the country, really tightened, and it means that even if a crime is convicted, say in Cornwall, in London you should be able to view that record, and that is just so important because I reckon that saved so many people, like, to this day. So everybody, this was my first kind of, I don't know what to call it, like, I have no idea. I was trying to think then, I have no idea what to call it. If you have any ideas, then please leave them down below. I already have a mental health Monday, so we can't do Monday. Oh yeah, please leave me some comments on this video. Like, did you enjoy it? Did you not? Do you want more? If you do want more, what cases do you want me to cover? And yeah, I will see you next week with a new video. Bye!